I am so joyful to be here to share with you 4 stories that have not only saved my life, but have transformed my life in ways that I never imagined possible. And I had to hack a lot of the information in my head to get there. I'm going to share that with you today. And I invite you to just relax and put your notebooks down. I'm going to make sure that you have access to everything that's going to be shared, but it's going to be happening fast. So just relax and just be present to the information and let it absorb into your psyche and let it do the work it's meant to do. So I'll start a little bit with my story. I had some early traumatic childhood experiences that led to a escalating, challenged relationship with food. Food became my coping mechanism to deal with the lack of self-worth that I was feeling. It became my coping mechanism to deal with all of the internal dialogue that was making me feel so upset that I was reaching for food I really wasn't physically hungry for. So my weight started escalating, and of course that made things even worse because I started beating myself up for not being able to lose weight. And it escalated even a step further because I couldn't control my appetites. I became bulimic, and for about 12 years I was making myself sick 2 to 3 times every single day. So that was the nature of my mind, very self-destructive, very challenged. And the only way that I was able to transcend that is to really get intimate with the nature of my own mind, really get familiar with the way that it works so that I could transcend that negative voice that was making me, again, feel so lonely and insecure and inadequate that I was stuffing myself every single day. So let's talk first about the nature of the mind. So for this model, let's think of the brain as the hard drive and your mind as the software. The software, the valuable data that's in your mind and some of the corrupt data that's running through your consciousness every single day. So every single day, you're thinking tens of thousands of thoughts, whether you're aware of it or not. And most of us aren't because 90% of our thoughts are subconscious. That's a very big deal. And in addition to that, 90 to 95% of your thoughts are thoughts that you had yesterday and the day before and the day before. Same frustrations with your body, same frustrations with your partner, same story running over and over and over again. And if you're in a stress state, 77% of your thoughts are negative. That's very challenging to deal with as human beings. So you're going to have 2 competing voices in your head. Some people say I have more than 2 voices. I got a full committee up there. But let's just break it down to these 2 voices for now so you understand how your mind works. So let's start with the untamed mind, the ego mind, which one of my friends described it as the drunk monkey that's been stung by a bee. And I thought, that's exactly how my mind feels sometimes. It feels like I can't control this thing. So the untamed mind makes you think about things that you don't want to think about because they make you feel worse. It makes you feel regret about the past, worry about the future, judging yourself, judging other people, and resisting the reality of the situation. So resisting, if you're in traffic, the untamed mind says, I shouldn't be here. This feels terrible. We all know that feeling. All addiction resides from listening to the untamed mind because people use something externally to try and shut out the mind, the voice in their mind that's making them feel so uncomfortable or nervous or inadequate. The tamed mind, on the other hand, is your genius mind, and every single one of you has a genius mind. But the more you listen to the untamed mind, the more the genius mind can't be free. But the genius mind helps you find solutions to every problem you face. It's like having a wise inner professor that can shut down that voice of what I call my dunce mind, the part of my mind that's not so bright, not the sharpest tool in the shed. But the untamed mind, the tamed mind helps you to think about larger perspectives and helps you to find solutions to the problems that you face. Now keep in mind the fact that the untamed mind thoughts are not your thoughts. They were the thoughts that were inserted into your hard drive. They're the software that were inserted through your early experiences and your early influencers. So they're going to show up automatically, and the whole key is learning how to transcend them as rapidly as possible. So we're going to unmask this imposter. We're going to make it so that you identify with that voice in a way that makes you recognize it's outside of you. You have to see it as a separate entity, because when you do that, you stop listening to it. It's kind of like a rude person. You don't want to pay attention to that rude person, that unkind voice anymore. So it can be hard to transcend that untamed mind because thoughts are involuntary and automatic and repetitive. And what happens is the first moment that you think a negative thought or you have an experience that makes you think negatively, this whole biochemistry is released in your body. You get excess cortisol and neuropeptide S and all these toxic chemicals rolling around, so you feel like you want to jump out of your skin because you feel so uncomfortable. So that's when we're reaching for food, or we're working harder, or we're stressed with our loved ones, because that internal dialogue is matched by this biochemistry of fear. And when you're in this biochemistry, it shuts down your prefrontal cortex, your reasoning center, the part of your mind that can actually help you to solve the problem. Because every single problem you face, every single one of them is fixable. And once you get in touch with that tamed mind on a more regular basis, it's much easier to get there. So think of the untamed mind as the misery maze. Any Matrix fans in here? Untamed mind takes you right into the matrix. And the reason that it's so powerful is because there's some truth to what it's sharing. There's some truth to what it's sharing. It's saying things like, my husband was rude to me today, or I don't want my weight this way, or I really do have financial troubles. And the truth is, yes, those things can be reality, but there is, again, there's an escape route that can only be achieved by ignoring that story, because that story rotates like a broken record over and over and over again, those same stresses and worries. So shutting it down is the key to access the solutions, your soul self, your empowered self, and that's where you want to go. You want to go right to the tamed mind. The tamed mind gets you to focus on what you do want. So I suggest, in order to get really in touch with your tamed mind, which is the part of you that knows exactly what you want, spend at least an entire day writing out what you want in vivid detail. What is it that you envision? Who do you want to be? Who do you want to connect with? What do you want your life to look like? What form of abundance means the most to you? Spend a whole day doing that, because we honestly, we usually just think randomly about what we want, but we don't slow down long enough to think about it in enough vivid detail so that we can visualize it and bring it into existence faster. The tamed mind allows you to get what you want faster. So think of that in terms of transcending the untamed mind. The longer you indulge it, the harder it is to get what it is that you truly want. So, your higher self, story 3. Story number 3 is defining who you most want to be. Because we often talk about what it is we want to do, what we want to create in the world, but we're not talking about who we want to be, and that's where self-esteem is born, by being who you most want to be. That's your soul self. So spending a day identifying who it is that you most admire. What are the qualities that they have? And how can you embody those every day? Think about it in the morning. Who do I want to be? That's where self-love gets a lot easier, because you're thinking about who you want to be, you're living in alignment with that, and that makes you feel good every single day. So define who you want to be. What do you want on your tombstone? The only thing holding you back from being the very best version of yourself is the untamed mind. Story 4 is your relationship with your higher power, however you define the loving force that created this unbelievable planet and all of you amazing sacred souls. What is that relationship like? I know for me, it was God was never even a remote possibility as a friend, much less a best friend. And when you spend time defining this primary relationship and you develop an intimate relationship with your version of your higher power, every single day you're less fearful. You feel more joyful. You feel loved. No matter who around you is being loving, you know that there's a higher power out there that sees you as whole and divine and complete and perfect just as you are. This is one of the stories, again, that helps you to break the pattern. All the negative patterns are in story 1. This story is a valuable use of your thoughts. And then the 5th story is the story of humanity. And right now, we are on a globe that is hovering in space. And we're going 67,000 miles an hour. And yet there's not a hair on my head that's moving. So that means that there's a much bigger story that's happening that we can't see, because we've been trapped inside that matrix, that misery maze, that untamed mind that doesn't allow us to recognize that there is a much bigger story, and you're a part of this family called humanity. And our role here is to determine our internal and external purpose, become the very best version of ourselves, and show up in the world in our greatness. So you can see how When you spend time in stories 2, 3, 4, and 5, your thoughts are positive, they're creative, you're connecting with your higher self, you're connecting with your higher power, you're connecting with the much larger picture, and your life starts to evolve into this magical story where you have less fear and more joy. You're able to show up in the world as your very best, at your very best. So you're not in charge of whether your untamed mind thoughts come in, you're only in charge of how fast you get them out. A powerful mind is created, it's not inherited. So every single day, make this one of your strategies. Think the thoughts that make you feel good. You'll draw on more of the good stuff. You'll start to realize, even in practicing this for a day, you'll start to see how you feel worlds better. You'll start to feel joy that you didn't even know was accessible to you. So there are many different ways, and I don't think I'm going to have time to get through all of them, but to tame that untamed mind. But you want to definitely bombard your mind with a new way of thinking. You want to surround yourself with positive people. You want to read information that makes you feel alive and excited and empowered. You want to listen to wonderful trainings like Mind Valley trainings that really teach you to recognize when the untamed mind is in charge. It feels really good to listen to those thoughts, those positive thoughts, because they're in alignment with your soul. So if you're thinking tamed mind thoughts, you're crowding out all the untamed mind thoughts. They become the dominant theme in your life. And your life starts to expand, as I said, in the ways that you want it to. Everything that's on your vision board starts to take place more rapidly because your thoughts are in alignment with what it is that you do want. So take massive mental action in the morning when your mind is more suggestible. Morning time, you're straight out of that dream state, so your mind will absorb the new information, so take advantage of that very valuable time. Don't just jump out of bed and start working. I did that for years. I know that it doesn't work. It only made me anxious and worried. So use that valuable morning time and choose your thoughts like you would a best friend, because they are your companions every single day. You want them to be as high vibration as possible. So there are lots of ways to train the untamed mind. I'm going to make sure you have access to all of the different information on that. But meditation is the holy grail for training the untamed mind. Meditation allows you to observe first the nature of the mind, which is this perpetual train of thoughts, and it allows you to slow that train down by stopping your thoughts. So if the untamed mind shows up, if you're meditating, you can learn to say no to that thought. What is the thought that I want to think? What's the thought that I'm generating? The thought's going to bring out the best of me and allow me to achieve everything that I most desire. So it is smart thinking to think from the tamed mind. It's the discerning part of your mind that, again, is your genius. And right now, I'm of the mind that the world is in desperate need of the very best of each and every one of us, more so now than ever before, and that can only be unleashed if you focus on the stories that improve the quality of your life. So in closing, I just want to say that each of you is a sacred soul on this planet with a very specific purpose that only you can fulfill. You are part of the puzzle, and like any puzzle, if one piece is missing, the puzzle's not complete. So know that you have infinite power, not only to change your world, but also the world. And it all happens starting now, one thought at a time.